All right, well, we're back with our third part of Dungeon Crawler Unbound gameplay. This is a little session I'm doing. I've learned that I've done some things pretty wrong. I might have actually been, well, according to the game designer, misunderstanding lock. So my Barbarian Berserker is locked, but that means a little bit more than I thought. It takes away her ability to do anything. So she can't boost anything. She can't offer her skills, nothing. As far as I'm concerned, I've probably been playing that wrong forever. So the game gets harder, but that's good. I like that. I like to have things to think about and to be able to ponder a move for sometimes a few minutes before getting it right. You can see my present dungeon here. I tried to up the quality of the video in number 2 with some HD. I think the first one was a little fuzzy, but if you made it through that, you'll see that where I am now is I've got the last of the murky swamp. All the time tokens are gone from it. I've got the jungle troglodyte over here, and I've got the 20-foot pit trap, which has locked my Barbarian Berserker and activated her. So the dungeon is a encounter limit of I'm up to 4, and I've got the ruins standing by because they busted the dungeon encounter limit. So the ruins are going to come in. Now, what can I do? Well, I've obviously looked at this in the time that I've had, and there's really nothing I can do. I can minimize the damage by not taking a poison from the troglodyte. So I will activate my cleric, and I put the wounds on the troglodyte, which it's on, and he or she, maybe it's a she, I never considered that, has no stamina. So she is gone. So that's what you do with characters, right into the grave. And now I have to deal with this 20-foot pit trap, but frankly, I already know that I cannot. I have no stamina in my hand at all. I've got some attacking things. In fact, that's what I have. I've got a pretty much offensive hand. I'll need to give that some consideration when I head into the ruins here, because what does it say? +2 power, characters and adventurers with stealth. So really there's nothing that's not giving away anything to me except that I do need armor. Okay, so anyway, wound. On to the Berserker, so she's got 2 wounds. So we reactivate. The Murky Swamp's time is up. The pit has done its damage, and the Berserker can't reactivate because she had a lock token. The lock token comes off, and we restock our... Well, actually, I draw up. I have 5 cards, so I'm curious as to what I'm going to get. I'm thinking I've got a lot of offense here. So it's reach versus a +1 melee. Since I have the ranged, I'm going to get rid of the reached. Some might disagree. And I am going to... +1 melee power, +3 melee power. I'm actually going to get rid of that too. I don't really want to burn through my crawler deck too quickly, because that's how you can lose the game. Not only can all your characters die when it becomes self-evident, but if you burn through the crawler deck, then you've got nothing left. Then you're dead. You're dead. The game's over. Anyway, 3 cards. 4 quickness. I like that. In fact, I can apply it. And 5 is +1 stamina per attacker. So I got a lot of offense and defense. Nothing special. The quickness spell's good, but other than that, okay. The ruins comes up. That lends its 2 to the dungeon. The wild naga. I'd love to see something different for the sake of this video, but anyway, we're up to 4. And falling stones again. Okay, so wow. Seeing a lot of the same things in our short little playtime together, but I guess that's just the way random cards work. So let's have a consideration of the ruins for a second here again. Let's see. I don't know if that's going to focus. +2 power to characters and adventurers with stealth and ignore flight. Bonuses from attacks with thrown or ranged are reduced to 0. So it doesn't bonus anything on the Falling Stones part of the dungeon. And the Wild Naga does not have stealth or flight. However, she does have a thrown attack, and that's reduced to 0. So that's going to help me. That's going to help me. Now, she does enfeeble. I'm going to use this Scrabble token for enfeeble because it usually shows up well. It's just a wooden square. So she enfeebles target X. Target X is the cost of the last dungeon, the last card on top, which is a 2, and you add 1. So it's the Gypsy Thief who gets enfeebled, which means he cannot access his skills. The Gypsy Thief is the master of enhancing skill, so we've lost our ability to boost skills. Actually, I shouldn't say that. We've lost our ability to boost what he can boost, but we can't do, well, that has a cost 0, and I do have other players with skills, so I still have access to all my cards. So the enfeeble isn't too bad. Okay, so the dungeon has an attack power of, or excuse me, stamina of essentially 0. So for the sake of, because that Falling Stones is going to get me for sure, I'm going to play Quickness. So Quickness lets me remove a lock from, I'm trying to read it through the viewfinder, remove a lock from or reset an adventure or character. So obviously I'm going to reset my Berserker, 2 wounds though she may have, but she's going to need to defend herself again. Okay, and now let's have her attack and put a wound onto the Naga. The Naga has no stealth, or excuse me, well, wouldn't matter. She doesn't have any armor, so to speak, so she is removed. So she goes into the discard. Now, I've already asked online at Board Game Geek how this goes. When she's out of play, because she's been killed, the enfeeble's lost. So here's something I've actually been playing properly. I had been playing, well, no, not properly, but to my disadvantage, and I was wrong. I had been leaving enfeeble on as though it was some sort of lingering spell, even though we killed the Naga. But according to the game designer, enfeeble comes off. So our Gypsy Thief is able to do what he needs to do, potentially, and the enfeeble's gone because we've killed the Naga. Okay, so now we have to cope with this Area 4 harm from the Falling Stones once again. I can't remember from video to video, but isn't this like the 4th time I've had to do this? Okay. So, okay, I can't remove, this is the combat training is remove a character. And the dungeon, or excuse me, the Falling Stones isn't a character. So I could do +1 stamina per attacker. Okay. Again, I'm going to run into probably a gray area. The reason I would use +1 stamina, so the Falling Stones is an attacker. The Ruins are not. But the Falling Stones is an attacker the same way the Naga was an attacker in terms of the dungeon. So if I play this card, I get +1 stamina. So let me think about this. You can defend on your own the 1, you can defend the 1 on your own, and you can defend the 1 on your own. Now, does the +1 stamina mean that she can accept the bonus even though she's activated and gain a stamina? There's something about that that seems a little bit on the edge. So unfortunately, I'm going to say no. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread out the love once again. So instead of the Barbarian Berserker taking the wounds, I'm going to have the, I don't know, let's say the Cleric, because he's got 4 life. So I'm going to have the Cleric throw himself in front of the rocks. There's a suspicion that he's got a bit of a crush on her. So he throws himself in front of the rocks and defends her, but in doing so, takes a wound. So the Cleric now has a wound. And that is that. Okay, so let's discard here. And let's activate 2 wounds on the Berserker, 1 wound on the Cleric. The Thief and the Wizard are unwounded, and I need to draw back up. There's nothing I want to get rid of. I really like Flaming Fury. I hope I get something interesting here. Not that the other ones haven't been. Short bow, so there's a little bit of offense again. And oh, okay, some chainmail armor. That's a pretty good. Defense. So here's my cards. Offense. Good. All right, I got a couple minutes left. Let's have a look at the dungeon. Nothing is being pushed. Okay, the recurring villain. So this says, search for a character of cost 3 or higher in the grave and restock it. And if none are available, restock this card at the end of this encounter. Whoa, there she is. Okay, I can't remember. Let's have a look. If we've done a character that had a value of 3. I don't think I've played this so many times trying to get a good video. No, we don't. We don't have a character 3. So here's the thing. I should have, before I go on, I probably should clarify exactly, but my understanding is she actually stays in, according to this, restock it is the instructions to the end of the encounter. So she's a 3. So she adds that to the dungeon. Gravaxin adds nothing to the stamina of the dungeon, making it kind of tricky. Broken Formation, okay. So target X, adventure, is the primary target of this encounter. So X equals the cost of the top dungeon card in the grave plus 1. The top dungeon card in the grave is the Falling Stones at a 1, if you can see it there. So the target becomes, we'll just use this again, 1 plus 1. Our cleric, who sacrificed himself mightily last time. So the cleric is the target. All right, that's probably not such a bad thing. Those cards later in the game aren't bad, especially if I do have to take a wound. There we go. And we have Gloom, which is a really hard card to take when you're fighting, but you get -1 power to each attacking adventurer. So no matter how much I exhaust these guys, I'm going to get if I activate them rather, it's still 0. So I need to enhance their attack. And I need to do that in order to take out the Gravaxin. Let's keep it simple. I'd keep it really simple, but let's go with... I always like ranged. I mean, who wouldn't, right? Now I could play combat training. And then keep my short sword. No, I won't. I'm going to play the short sword. And once the short sword is played, that means we have to activate somebody. Let's have the Wood Elf. The Wood Elf shocks everybody by coming out with the short sword and stabbing the Gravaxin as he leapt through the air toward the Keldornan cleric. And the cleric says, "Thank you so much for saving me from that nasty fate." Okay, so the Gravaxin is discarded. And I overcame the gloom because I used the short sword. So I had an attack of 4, -1 would be 3, which is plenty for the defenseless Gravaxin. And there is no attack. So we discard here. And then we need to take the recurring villain here. We need to take our dungeon deck, thusly. And she needs to go back in. We're going to have time just to draw another dungeon here. And then we'll move on. These kind of go slowly, I guess. Sorry about that. I'm hoping to get to some cool characters like slimes and, oh, I don't know, stuff like that. The enfeeble comes off. Everyone is back, active, and ready. I need a 5th crawler card. Take aim, +4 power on ranged attack. So I've got ranged, so actually now would be a sweet time to get someone because I've got 7 ranged. So someone like Green Knee, that'd be okay at this point. All right, our dungeon. The Leaf Vodiani, I should probably show you that. Has a 0, he's not contributing much. The Anguine for 2, the War Fiend for 2 more, and the Labyrinth, which will bust the dungeon. And I don't really have time to explain. I just have time to show you that those 3 guys are there, and then that's who I'll be facing next go. So cheers, and we'll see you in the next vid.